Hello there, Vic Benedict here. We're playing God of War 2018 on Give Me God of War difficulty, and this is my guide and walkthrough. We're currently on part 16, and this part is actually a really fun part. I like this installment. The first thing you want to do on this fight is take out the two nightmares. Hopefully they don't give you too much trouble when you're trying to grab them. And then for the ogre down here, when he throws his boulders, I just activate the rage and iframe through it because I have a hard time dodging his boulders. They're very hard to dodge. So what I do instead is I just I throw my own boulder. But over here, up the hill, there's a wolver. So this fight is actually not too bad, but you would think that there would be a lot more enemies. But as it stands, there's just two nightmares, and then this ogre down here. This turquoise one, and then the wolver. And then if you jump on this guy, you can damage the wolver if he's close enough. Of course, at the beginning of the fight, you have to incorporate him into the fight, because if you don't go up the hill enough, you might not even get him to either spawn or aggro. I'm not sure his what he's actually doing up there. I think he has already spawned into the world. He's just not aggroed. He's up here to the right. If you just go behind where I'm going now, where the Nornir chest was, I think. And I think I took some damage there. Some of these fights I'm not going to be taking damage on. So we've got a lot of good content in this installment. One of the reasons I like it is because of the assortment of enemies. And there's some pretty stupid fights, like the fight that's coming up after this. But some pretty good ones too. And at the beginning of the video, right when I grabbed that nightmare, I think I mentioned that hopefully you don't have too much trouble if they try to dodge away from your grab with this weapon. And normally, if you lock onto them and they're glowing, I seem to always be able to grab them when they're glowing, but not when they're not. I think because they're maybe committed to something when they're doing that and they can't move. But I just wish there was a little bit more interactivity with the nightmares, because when you grab them, it doesn't seem like you have too many options to turn and throw. What I would really like to see with that enemy is grabbing him and maybe throwing him as a projectile and damaging, the ogre. Maybe I can throw a nightmare and use some of the iframes from that and deal some damage to the ogre. But do you see this? This is actually the super plume. If you can believe it or not. It's called the Chaos Plume. It's a level 3 move. And, this is a stupid fight down here. So, if you upgrade the blades to level 3, you can do a finisher, which is that Chaos Plume. And what I think that the input is, which works for me, is 5 squares, 2 triangles, just like the super plume of old. And that actually works. It works for me. So try it out. And if you have the runic up to 175 or more, you can add a finisher to it. But at this point in time, I think I'm in the 160, so I don't have the ability to do that. But I'm sure in time I will. I'm almost positive I'll be able to actually do that for myself. And I don't know what the hell this fight is over here. It's just a bunch of trash. And there's so many times when I play this game and I'm rushing an enemy, I accidentally activate the rage. It's really frustrating, very frustrating. And we're retreading some old territory. And again, never assume anything at face value with this walkthrough, guys. Remember that you always want to be looking in areas that I'm not going to for items, because there's a lot of stuff that there's an actual ton of stuff that I'm not showing in the walkthrough. But how do you like that fucking super plume, man? I kind of like it. I'm glad that it's back. It takes a lot of commitment to do it, but I think the super plume always had that sort of tendency, didn't it? And at this point in time, we also have a move where when we do that grab, if we hold square, we can do a little detonation at the end of the chain. It's really cool. I really like this game. The thing is, this area over here has a nightmare too. It's a nightmare that's colored very similarly to this ogre at the beginning of the video. And that's what I'm looking for right now, because I saw he turned up once, and then I restarted the checkpoint, and he didn't turn up again. So there's supposed to be a nightmare around that chest area over there. So I don't know, but we did get some hardened steel, and we can move on with that in our possession. We can go up here, and it's funny when I, when I say to myself, why am I not doing things no damage? I always think back to like the God of War Ascension guide that I did in 2013, where you can really see that I had no idea what I was doing, because I was just jumping into the game, as it were, as if it were a pool or something. But it's funny to compare something like that walkthrough with a no upgrade run plus that I did last summer, because you see that I play so much differently than I did, and I know so much more. So that's one of the reasons that I don't like to show that I'm a certain way, because it is all ego. So I know that, but it's hard to deny that sometimes. What do we have here? Glacial Catalyst. And a legendary enchantment. Alright. Alright. Okay, so I am going to trim that cutscene out, and then we're going to come up here and oh, this is the point in the story where the kid's being hurry up. The kid's being really mouthy, so I'm really surprised that this kid's ass is not red from getting an ass whooping, honestly. And oh, this fight down here is pretty ugly. You've got all of these things. I think I may have done this fight no damage, and I keep thinking, who fucking cares if you take a hit? And I care for some reason. I really care, and I hate that I care. I don't want to think that I'm being a failure because I take a hit. Like, when did this channel become a no damage channel? But anyway, I'm trying to do what the tooltips suggest of launching an enemy, and then so if you don't know what that super plume is, it's a very strong move that you can do. Yeah, I did get hit. It's really hard not to get hit from all of this stuff. This game is hard in a way that it's very difficult to say why it's hard. It's easy to say, well, the game is just, it's not very well made in certain respects, but it is very difficult to not take damage sometimes. But what I'm trying to do is, and I'll talk about the super plume. The super plume was a very strong move in the other games, where once you leveled up the blades enough, you can do a move that was a simple input of 3 triangles in succession. And if you were doing challenge runs in all of the God of Wars except Ascension, you can do that move at a base level of the blades by inputting it in a longer but fairly easy to pull off technique of inputs, and that was square times 5 and then triangle times 2, and it did the same move as the level 3 attack of TTT. However, you're not dealing the same amount of damage, but you're doing a very powerful move that you ordinarily wouldn't have access to. So, if you're wondering what suit Atreus has, I don't know the name of it, but it's one of the suits that reduces the cooldown time of my arrows and deals more damage. I'm pretty sure of that. It's one of the rarer suits, and I don't know that I bought it, but I think I crafted it. So down here we've got a couple of wolves over here. Now these wolves can actually be frozen and then hit into into solid surfaces to deal damage to them. I don't think that's the route that I went this time, but killing them is essential to clear the fight without too much trouble, because these guys can be problematic enough without having to deal with wolves jumping around. But I think, did I tell you guys about the shield? All you need to do with the shield enemies is just double tap the block button, and you will break their guard. So that is something I neglected to mention in one of the earlier videos, and I do apologize. So this is the guy that probably will be your last kill, because he's got the most amount of durability. Now, I'm going to mostly keep him stunned, but since he's a heavier enemy, he can't be stunned as easy as the lighter enemies, obviously, but he's not immune from long periods of getting stunned, as you could see there. And I was so nervous that I was doing this no damage that I missed my parry. So again, that's another thing about breaking under pressure. All right. Again, explore the area, do your upgrading, and again, don't take anything at face value. Let's see, where are we now? Continue towards the summit. Now I like this fight. This fight's not too bad. The first thing you want to do is shield bash that first guy. You want to rush him and then hit him against the wall. You should be able to get the stun within 2 attacks. If it takes a third attack, just do it, and then take out the nightmare on the right, and then if you prefer, take out you could take out the one over here if you want to first. But what's probably going to happen if you're unlucky is that the nightmares are going to imbibe a host and be a little bit more problematic, just because they're going to be shielded for the interim until you could deal enough damage to the host body, and then they will get released from the body, and then the host body actually gets stunned. But the period of their getting stunned is incredibly short. I've never been able to charge up to them, and you might even see it somewhere over here if there's another nightmare. But it's ludicrous. Here, this probably is it. Let's see if he gets stunned. See, he was stunned and then he gets up. What was that, a second? Again, see, he was stunned and then something happened. I don't even know. I think I was firing arrows at him and he I don't know. I really don't know. But whenever they do that little raising of their sword like that, you just don't want to be near them at all. Now, this fight was done no damage, and I have to say, if you want to avoid damage on something like this, with these guys, just do not even get anywhere near them, because they have a tendency to jump at you from off screen, and it doesn't even give you the indicator because it happens so fast. I don't even know. But outside of that, what I would recommend is you want to keep your distance, shoot the ice arrows at them, and just let them do their own thing with Atreus. Atreus should be quite helpful over here, and obviously use his summon. And I don't think I've mentioned, but I did get the Murder of the Crows summon, and I would definitely recommend that. And if you don't know where it is, you can just Google it, and you'll be able to find it. It's actually near the witch's house, and it's got really good damage. But the stun and the runic properties of it are low, so that's the trade-off there. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to do what I believe is an optional fight with another Cyclops and a couple of Nightmares and some lesser enemies. Now, the Hell's Wind, right now, just ignore it. We'll come back down afterwards to open the door for it. I did lose some footage of me commanding Atreus to go up to the right, so to get up this chain, you're going to have Atreus go up and go around the side through that little door in the ceiling. Now, on this fight over here, what you want to do is you want to prepare your super plume over here and make sure that you're not near the door when it opens, or you will get damaged. The first part of this fight is the Cyclops, and then behind him, you're going to have these nightmares. There is one of these canisters up here that you can damage the Cyclops with. I don't think I hit him too much with it, but I think I got him a little bit maybe. Now with these things, you did see that I turned there and I threw it like that, but it doesn't seem like you have too much of a choice about where you're throwing it and things like that. That was really surprising that I didn't take any damage there. But once you get the stun on this guy, you'll be able to take out the lesser enemies, hopefully with the amount of time that you have on top of this one. So when I'm on this, all I do is I spam triangle, and it's gorgeous. It really is a good game. It's fantastic. I mean, it definitely has its problems. The nonsense about not being able to unbuy moves, it's just really frustrating because you can really regret what you're doing. And I've bought something for the Blades of Chaos that's a jumping attack too, which is how stupid I am. So I didn't think it would have any I didn't think I would have a problem with it, but of course I do. So it's not the end of the world. It's just a little annoying that you can't customize things the way you want to. And then, I've got some good advice for this next part over here, with this soul destroying monster down here. I would make sure that I had rage if I were you, because we're going to be doing some boulder throwing at this guy, and I've never seen one of these guys get destroyed with such damage on this guy. I faced some of the optional ones on side missions, and these guys take a long time to kill, but this one down here is really simple. But the secret to getting this over here is to actually carry this nearby to where the chain is, so that you can climb the chain and then infuse this receptacle with the Hell's Wind, and then string it into your blades and then carry it over to where the door is. It doesn't look like you could set it on top of that step there, so you're gonna have to put it below the step. But and I thought this guy had lackeys too, but I don't even think he had a chance to summon lackeys if he did. But the way to deal with these wall monsters, or whatever you're gonna call them, they have different names, which is strange. But when you're throwing the axe, you want to make sure that you're not pressing the triangle to throw it. You want to press square. And then pressing square will do a faster throw. But one of the main problems for me with these wall monsters is that, and I just say wall monsters because they just remind me of a concrete slab for some reason, but the problem is once you knock a piece of them off, I always have a hard time avoiding getting damaged afterwards from their laser projectile. I have a hard time not getting hit on it, and I always try to think of a way to get past it, but I never can. There really is no trick for beating this guy either. All you have to do is use the square throw like I mentioned after you aim, and if you're like me, you'll probably accidentally use the L2 plus square move and get irritated at yourself. But I've got a really effective strategy for you if you would like to just not have to deal too much with the actual fight, because if you don't want to do the strategy, I already showed you how to do this. I think we probably already have faced. Yeah, I'm thinking about one of the optional ones. There's an optional one that's pretty tough. I think he's a Soul Eater. I didn't mean to sound disparaging when I said it that way either. I just, how do you deal with this guy if you're not going to be throwing boulders at him and taking off like 33% of his health in one hit? It's very simple. Now, the only thing that's hard about this fight is with these guys is it wants you to hit off a piece of his chest and then throw it back at him. But the problem about this enemy is that, and look at this damage too, undeniable, irrefutable, just a really good way to deal with it. I'm not saying that I'm the best or anything, but very simple to deal with that guy. The Soul Destroyers, you just hit their weak spot off, you throw it back at them, that stuns them. It doesn't make them fall, it just stuns them. And then you start throwing the axe into their chest, and then after 2 to 3 throws, they do fall down, and you get the prompt to grab them, and then it's your choice. You can grab them and do damage with the punches and the kicks. I think you get about 3 to 4 until he pushes you off, and then it's just do the same thing over and over until he's dead. But throwing the boulders at him is really, I was shocked that it took that much damage off of him. It's a really good way to possibly avoid fighting lackeys, because I'm almost positive, but I was sure there were lackeys on that fight. And if we manage to bypass lackeys, that's a great thing, because otherwise it's, a boss like that should not have any help. And like I've said before, a boss that needs help isn't a real boss. And I believe that, but hopefully you didn't have too much trouble. This part is going to end pretty soon after we reach the summit, and that will be the extent of part 16. Like I said, I liked this part. There wasn't much nonsense, and it was just pure fighting. That's why I come to these games. It isn't the same game that it was, and it never will be. What can you say to something like that? I mean, if you're not happy with it, you're not going to be happy with it anymore. I mean, this game has the time for this franchise has just passed. I mean, if it was going to remain the same, then maybe it wouldn't be too successful. I don't know anymore. All I know is that we're done. Take care.